All right, get ready, because today we're taking a deep dive into the heart with a little help from science.
Ooh, sounds intriguing.
We got so many requests to cover this one. It's all about the science of love.
Okay.
Specifically excerpts that you guys have sent us from Leil Lowndes' audiobook, How to Make Anyone Fall in Love with You.
I've heard of this one.
Yeah, she's like this communications expert who's, really dug deep into what makes people fall head over heels
Yeah.
using like all this research, psychology, and even like her own experiences.
Love decoded.
Right.
Fascinating stuff.
Totally. So I guess it's not just about finding like the one, it's more about like really understanding, the forces at play.
Right.
And maybe even like giving Cupid a little nudge in the right direction.
Exactly. I mean, for centuries, love has been this big mystery, but now we can actually use science to try and figure it out. And maybe even, influence it a little.
I like it.
And Lowndes' work is all about understanding the mechanics of attraction.
Okay.
And how to apply these insights to your own life.
That makes total sense. I feel like I'm taking notes already.
Oh yeah, there's so much good stuff in this book. But before we get too far, Lowndes stresses this one idea,
Okay.
potential love partners, or PLPs.
PLPs, got it.
And her point is, someone might, be perfect for you
Right.
on paper, but if they're not open to love at this moment, no amount of science is going to change that.
Right. So like you can't force a flower to bloom before it's ready.
Exactly.
I like that. So with that in mind, let's dive into Lowndes' 6 targets for making someone fall for you. Up first impressions.
The all-important first impression, right?
Well, all know they're important, but Lowndes takes it to a whole other level, really emphasizing the power of those initial moments, and even something called visual imprinting.
Yeah, it's almost like those first few seconds create like this template
Okay.
for how we see someone. Imagine 2 kittens, meeting for the first time. Right. If one hisses, the other reacts defensively. But if one nudges gently, they end up playing and bonding. It's the same with people. Those first nonverbal cues set the stage for the whole interaction.
So we're all subconsciously like sizing each other up, right? Like play or fight
Right.
before we even say a word.
Right.
Man, I'm starting to feel a little self-conscious about my handshake.
Well, here's the good news. Lowndes says we can actually learn to control these like involuntary reactions.
Interesting.
Because remember, like she says, you never get a second chance to make a first impression.
Yeah, okay, point taken. I'll be practicing my approachable smile in the mirror.
I think we all could.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So once we've like nailed that first impression, what's next?
Okay, so the next one is similarity.
Okay.
This is where the conscious mind comes in, because we tend to be drawn to people who share our values, beliefs, and interests. It's that birds of a feather idea. But there's a catch. We also need a dash of complementarity to keep things interesting.
So it's not just about like finding someone who's exactly like me. It's about finding someone who like reflects and complements who I am.
Yeah.
So like someone who shares my love for, I don't know, classic films.
Right.
But maybe like balances out my impulsive nature with like a bit more level-headedness.
Exactly. It's about finding that balance.
Right.
Because as Lowndes points out, being too similar can actually lead to, boredom.
Oh, true.
We need someone who can like challenge us a little,
Yeah.
introduce us to new ideas,
Right.
and maybe even help us fold laundry.
Yes, that too. All right, so we got first impressions and then similarity with a sprinkle of difference. What else?
Okay, this one might make people a little uncomfortable, but it is backed by research. Market value.
Market value.
It's the idea that we all have a certain like worth in the dating market based on factors like looks, status, and personality.
Okay, I can already hear like some listeners cringing, right?
Yeah.
It does sound, I don't know, a little cold and calculating, like we're putting a price tag on love.
I get it, and Lowndes acknowledges it too. But her point is not that we should be like shallow or materialistic.
Right.
It's more about recognizing that even the kindest, most selfless people, subconsciously factor in what a potential partner brings to the table.
So there's like this like subconscious cost-benefit analysis is happening in the background.
Yes.
Even if we're not aware of it.
Precisely.
And
And being aware of this can actually be helpful.
okay.
Because then we can be honest with ourselves about what we're looking for and what we offer in return. It's about finding that sense of balance, mutual appreciation.
Yeah, I'm starting to see how like understanding this could lead to, I don't know, like more realistic expectations, right?
Yeah,
Maybe even like prevent some heartache down the line.
absolutely.
Interesting. Okay, so we've got market value, even if it's, not the most romantic idea. What's next?
Okay, so next is ego.
Ego.
Yes. Lowndes argues that, like, understanding and nurturing your potential partner's self-image is crucial to making them feel seen and appreciated.
Okay, so it's not just about, like, showering them with compliments. It's
Right.
about really, like, understanding how they see themselves.
Yes.
And, like, reflecting that back to them.
Exactly. It's like we all have this like inner critic, right?
Right,
We
yeah.
spring doubts and insecurities. But when we find someone who, sees past those doubts and reflects back the best version of ourselves, it's incredibly powerful.
It's like finding that, like, magical mirror that shows us our potential instead of our flaws. No wonder we're drawn to people who make us feel good about ourselves.
Right. Exactly. And it's not about like inflating their ego,
Right.
but about genuinely appreciating and acknowledging their strengths and qualities.
Gotcha. Okay, so we got first impressions, similarity, market value, ego. What else? What are the last two pieces of this puzzle?
All right. So the final two targets are gender differences and sex.
Ooh, okay. Here we go.
Lowndes argues that men and women often approach, dating and relationships very differently, and understanding those differences is crucial for building a lasting connection.
I mean, this is where things get, like, really interesting. I feel like we've all had those moments where it's like men and women are speaking entirely different languages.
Absolutely. And that's what I love about Lowndes. She really dives into the like science behind those communication gaps, and she gives us actual practical tips for navigating those differences and building stronger connections.
Okay. I am definitely ready to decode those mixed signals.
Yeah.
But before we get into all of that, I kind of want to step back for a sec and explore, like, the science behind all of this, right?
Mhm.
Like, why do these techniques actually work? What's happening in our brains and bodies
Yeah.
that, like, drives those feelings of attraction?
Okay, great question. Lowndes points to something called phenylethylamine, or PEA for short, also called the love chemical.
Okay.
It's this hormone that floods our system in those early stages of attraction. It gives us that like rush of excitement and infatuation.
Ah, so PEA explains those butterflies in your stomach.
Exactly.
It's like our body's own love potion.
It is. And get this, PEA is chemically similar to like amphetamines,
Oh, wow.
which explains why, new love can feel so exhilarating
Mm.
and even addictive.
So if it's like a drug,
Yeah.
does that mean, like, it wears off at some point?
Well, the intensity of the PEA rush does fade over time,
Okay.
but that usually lasts long enough to like build a solid foundation for a lasting relationship.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've got this, like, love chemical coursing through our veins.
Right.
But what, like, triggers its release in the first place? Like, why do we fall for one person and not another? What's the deciding factor there?
Things are about to get really interesting.
Oh, I love it when you say that.
Lowndes talks about something called love maps. These are essentially subconscious preferences, shaped by our childhood experiences and early relationships.
So it's like our past is playing matchmaker behind the scenes,
Yeah.
guiding us toward people who, like, fit those subconscious patterns.
Exactly. It helps explain why we might be drawn to certain types of people.
Right.
Even if those preferences don't like logically make sense.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Okay, so I see how all these pieces fit together now.
Uh-huh.
We've got the initial spark of attraction driven by, like, visual cues and that powerful love chemical PEA. And then, our conscious mind kicks in, evaluating, like, similarity and all that, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time, like, our subconscious love map is, quietly guiding us
Yeah.
to people who fit those deeper patterns.
Exactly. And it's within this framework that Lowndes' like techniques for making someone fall in love with you come into play.
Okay.
She's basically offering a roadmap for, navigating those early stages of attraction, understanding those subconscious cues,
Right.
and creating the conditions for love to blossom.
This is, like, amazing. I feel like we're, like, cracking the code of attraction here.
Right.
But Lowndes doesn't just leave us with theory, does she? She actually gives us, like, concrete strategies to use this knowledge to our advantage.
You bet. She offers very specific techniques for creating sparks.
Yeah.
And she stresses that like opportunities for connection can, happen anywhere.
All right, I am all ears. What's move number one?
Okay, her first piece of advice is simple,
Okay.
but it's crucial. Dress for the kill everywhere.
Love it.
Right.
I feel like it's like that saying, dress for the job you want, not the job you have.
Yes.
But in this case, it's like, dress for the love you want, not the single life you have.
Exactly. It's about, projecting confidence and showing you care about how you present yourself to the world. It's
Yeah.
a signal that you're, like, open to possibilities.
So it's not about, like, being overly dressed up. It's more about, like, just putting effort into your appearance. Presenting yourself as someone who's, like, ready for love.
Yeah, it's about feeling good about yourself and putting your best foot forward.
Right, right. So Lowndes talks about this woman who, like, totally missed out on a connection because she was, like, too tired.
Oh, I remember that story.
Yeah, the guy even, like, drove a Jaguar, right?
Yes.
And she was so, like, caught up in her exhaustion
Yeah.
that she, like, totally dismissed him.
Totally missed the opportunity. This is a perfect example of what Lowndes calls being psychologically fit to kill. It's about staying open to possibilities and being ready to, like, engage even when you're not actively looking for love.
So, like, setting a love trap, so to speak.
Yes.
Be prepared, be present, and be your most charming self, even if you're just, I don't know, grabbing a coffee or running errands.
You're right.
You never know.
Exactly. You never know. It's about creating those, opportunities for connection and being receptive to the magic of those, like, chance encounters.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we're dressed to kill. Our, like, love traps are set. We're radiating good vibes. What happens when we actually spot, a potential love partner?
Yeah.
Like across a crowded room. What's next? What are those first crucial moves in the dance of attraction?
Okay, so this is where Lowndes breaks down this, like, subtle choreography of attraction.
Okay.
She calls it the dance of intimacy. And it starts with, like, this nonverbal signal.
Wow.
A glance, a smile, a raised eyebrow. And then if the interest is mutual, there's this gradual turning towards each other.
Oh, interesting.
Head to head, then belly to belly, knees to knees, finally feet to feet.
Wow, so much of it is, like, nonverbal, isn't it? It's like our bodies are, like, speaking the secret language, sending out, like, invitations before we even say a word.
Isn't it fascinating?
Yeah.
I mean, Lowndes says that if one person breaks the sequence, even accidentally, it can disrupt the flow.
Oh, interesting.
So being attuned to those, like, nonverbal cues is, like, super important.
Got it. Okay, so we've made eye contact, smiled. We're, like, subtly mirroring each other's body language. What's next? Do we just, like, launch into a Shakespearean sonnet about our undying love?
Not quite. The next step is that first, verbal signal.
Okay.
It could be a simple hello, a comment about the music, or even a playful, do you come here often?
Right.
The content isn't as important as the fact that you're breaking the ice and showing you're interested.
So all those hours we spend, like, crafting the perfect opening line
Yeah.
might be a little wasted. It's more about, like, just taking the plunge and starting a conversation.
Exactly. And Lowndes actually recommends against, like, being too clever or witty at this stage. Because remember, your PLP is already processing tons of information about you. So if you overload them with a, like, complex or witty opener, it can, backfire.
It's like we're trying to create, like, the perfect first course of a meal.
Yeah.
But if we add too many flavors, it, like, overwhelms the palate. Better to start simple.
Exactly. Keep it genuine, keep it light, and let the conversation, unfold naturally.
Okay, so let's get specific. For the guys listening out there, what are some good strategies for approaching a woman in a way that, feels confident but not, like, aggressive?
Lowndes emphasizes making eye contact, smiling, and, like, nodding slightly. It's all about conveying warmth and respect and genuine interest. And she has this really cool tip about timing.
Yes, the 45-second rule.
Yes. So when a guy makes eye contact with a woman, she might look away, like, initially, it's natural.
Yeah.
But if she glances back at him within 45 seconds, it's a good sign.
Oh,
It means she's open to his attention.
okay.
And if he's still looking at her when she glances back, it shows he's, interested and attentive.
It's like this subtle game of cat and mouse, but with a stopwatch.
Right.
I love it. It shows how much of attraction is about those, like, unspoken signals and that, like, delicate dance of timing.
Well, what goes back to the dance of intimacy idea?
Right.
It's about reading each other's cues and responding in a way that, like, creates that connection.
Okay, so the guy has made eye contact, smiled, she's looked back within 45 seconds, and he's still looking at her. What next?
He moves a little closer, close enough to talk, and starts a conversation. Remember, it doesn't have to be anything profound.
Right.
It's about showing he's, interested and respectful.
And again, no cheesy pickup lines.
Please.
Keep it simple. Keep it genuine.
Definitely. Lowndes emphasizes authenticity above all else.
Okay, that's a good roadmap for the guys. What about the ladies? What are some good strategies for them to, like, signal interest and encourage a guy to approach?
Okay, Lowndes has this interesting concept for women, the big baby pivot.
Big baby pivot.
I'm listening.
Imagine, like a 4-year-old walks up to you
Uh-huh.
and says, "Hi, my name's Billy."
Okay, cute.
What would you do? You turn toward him, smile, make him feel welcomed. Loud's point is, in many ways, men are just big babies. So we should treat them with, like, the same warmth and enthusiasm that we'd show, like a cute little kid.
Exactly. It's about making them feel comfortable, accepted, appreciated.
So does that mean, like, playing hard to get is out?
Lowndes actually challenges that traditional dating advice, and she has the research to back it up.
Right.
Studies have actually shown that men don't prefer women who play hard to get.
Wow. I think a lot of people operate under that assumption.
It's a myth that Lowndes debunks. And she explains that men already face a lot of, internal pressure and insecurity when it comes to, like, approaching women. So if a woman plays hard to get, it adds to that pressure and can actually make them less likely to pursue her.
So instead of creating a, like, challenge, it's more about making him feel safe and accepted.
Yes.
Like he's already, like, won half the battle.
Exactly. It's about making him feel good about himself, about the interaction, creating that positive association from the start.
I like that. Okay, so I'm sensing a theme here. It seems like a lot of Lowndes' advice is about, like, creating a positive and supportive environment where your potential partner, like, feels comfortable, confident, and, special.
That's a great observation. It ties back to that emphasis on ego, right? We all want to feel seen, appreciated, admired. And when we find someone who reflects back those positive feelings, it's attractive.
Right. It makes so much sense. But I'm guessing Lowndes doesn't just tell women to, like, sit back and wait for the guy to make the first move, right?
Of course not. She encourages women to be, proactive and initiate contact. In fact, research shows that women initiate 2/3 of all encounters.
Really? Wow, I would have never guessed that. But it kind of makes sense when you think about it.
How so?
I feel like women are often, like, more socially adept.
Yeah.
And better at reading, like, all those nonverbal cues, right?
Exactly. And Lowndes even points out that, like, in the animal kingdom, it's often the females who initiate courtship.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
So it's really about, like, tapping into our natural instincts. Yeah.
Okay, ladies, you heard it here first. Don't be afraid to take the lead. Smile, wink, make eye contact, and if you're feeling dulled, go ahead and start that conversation.
Go for it.
But even if the woman initiates, what happens?
Oh, the male ego often takes over, retroactively. He'll convince himself he was the one who made the first move.
So it's like we're subtly, planting that seed of attraction.
Yes.
And even if we're the ones who, like, planted it,
Yeah.
he'll still feel like he's the one who, like, cultivated it.
Exactly.
It's a win-win. Okay, I'm loving all this practical advice. Are there any other, like, key techniques we should know about, like, for those first moments, those subtle ways to signal interest and, like, create that spark?
Lowndes talks a lot about the power of eye contact.
Okay.
Especially something she calls sticky eyes.
Sticky eyes. Okay, you got to tell me more about this.
It's about making, like, intense, lingering eye contact with your potential partner. Research shows that this can actually trigger the release of PEA, that love chemical we were talking about.
So we can literally, like, stare someone into falling in love with us.
Well, it's not that simple.
Right.
But eye contact does play a powerful role in, attraction. It conveys interest, creates intimacy, and can trigger those, like, feel-good hormones.
Okay, so how much eye contact are we talking?
Lowndes recommends aiming for, like, 75% or more of the time while you're talking.
75%. Wow, that seems like a lot. When they come across as a little...
Creepy.
Yeah.
It could if the other person isn't attracted to you. But if there's already a spark, that intense eye contact can actually be quite exciting.
Right, so it's about, like, reading those cues,
Yeah.
gauging their comfort level, right?
Right.
If they're leaning in, like, reciprocating,
Yes.
then it's a good sign.
It goes back to that, like, dance of intimacy idea.
Yeah.
It's about being, attuned to those subtle signals.
All right.
Responding in a way that creates that connection.
Gotcha. Okay, sticky eyes, check. What else? Are there other, like, eye-related techniques we should know about?
Lowndes also talks about what she calls the visual voyage.
Okay.
While you're chatting, let your eyes, like, wander over their face, taking in all their features,
Okay.
spend most of the time on their eyes, but, feel free to explore.
So it's like we're taking this like mental snapshot of their beauty, appreciating every detail, and letting them know we're like completely captivated by them.
Exactly. And after you've taken that visual voyage, look back at their eyes and give them a warm, appreciative smile.
I can see how that would create a sense of like intimacy
Yeah.
and make the other person feel, special.
It is. It's a subtle but powerful way to convey attraction.
We've covered so much, from first impressions to like sticky eyes and visual voyages.
That's a lot.
It's amazing how much like science goes into all of this.
Right.
But I know everyone listening wants to hear more about how to like move beyond those first encounters.
Right.
And build that deeper connection.
Yes.
So let's take a quick pause to, gather our thoughts
Okay.
and prepare to delve into the art of conversation and those like super important first few dates.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the science of love. I feel like we've covered so much ground already when it comes to like first impressions and all of that.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
Right. But now I'm curious, like how do we take those initial sparks and like fan them into flames?
Oh, good question.
What's next?
Well, I'm guessing conversation has to play a big role here, right?
Well, yeah, for sure.
Lowndes really stresses that meaningful conversation is crucial for building a lasting connection.
Yeah.
It's about going beyond the surface level small talk and digging into those shared interests and values. That's what creates real intimacy.
Okay, so how do we do that? Like how do we go from those like initial icebreakers to like conversations that really spark a connection?
Lowndes talks about this really cool technique called cherry picking.
Okay.
And it's all about really listening to your potential partner
Totally.
and identifying those like little conversational nuggets that reveal their deeper interests and passions.
Ooh, I like it. It's like we're on a quest for those like juicy conversational cherries.
Yes, exactly. So as your PLP is talking, pay attention to any like unusual words or phrases, anything that like deviates from standard small talk. Those are your cherries. They give you clues about their passions, their quirks, what makes them tick.
So for example, like if someone mentions that they, I don't know, spent the weekend trying out a new Ethiopian restaurant,
Yes.
that's a cherry I should like grab.
Absolutely. Instead of just like nodding and moving on, you could say, oh, what kind of food do you usually enjoy? Or have you always been adventurous with like trying new cuisines?
Right. Yeah. It's like we're like conversational detectives searching for clues that lead us to a deeper understanding of the other person.
I love that analogy. And you'd be surprised how quickly you can move from like superficial chatter to a genuinely engaging conversation just by picking up on those cues.
Right.
And showing genuine curiosity.
Okay, so we've mastered the art of cherry picking. We're having these like amazing conversations. What's next? Is it time to pop the question?
Ooh.
You mean?
The question of a first date.
Oh, yes. First date time. And Lowndes has some interesting insights about creating those like truly memorable first dates, experiences that really build a strong emotional connection.
All right, spill the beans. What's the secret to a first date that, leaves them wanting more?
She suggests choosing activities that evoke, like excitement or even a little bit of anxiety.
Wait, anxiety? On a first date, I feel like we want to create a, relaxed and comfortable atmosphere.
That's what you'd think, right. But research actually suggests that these sorts of, experiences can increase attraction. Really?
Yeah. Lowndes talks about the study where men crossed a, scary suspension bridge, and they were more likely to call the female researcher who interviewed them afterwards.
Wow, that's fascinating. So it's like the adrenaline rush from the thrilling activity gets misattributed to attraction for the other person. I always thought those butterflies just meant I was nervous, but maybe they meant I was falling in love.
Exactly. It's called misattribution of arousal.
Okay.
And it explains why things like, riding roller coasters, watching a scary movie can actually spark romantic connection.
So ditch the boring dinner date, right?
Yeah.
And opt for something more adventurous, maybe I don't know, rock climbing or that new escape room.
Those are great ideas. Lowndes suggests things like horseback riding, going to a concert, even visiting a haunted house.
Ooh, spook.
Anything that gets the heart pumping
Yeah.
And creates this shared experience that you can reminisce about later.
I'm adding skydiving date to my list. Okay, but seriously, I see how sharing an experience that evokes strong emotions, even a little fear could like bond two people, right?
It's about creating a connection you can't get from just, a typical dinner date.
Okay, so we've had our like adrenaline pumping date, we've survived, and now it's actually time for dinner.
Mhm.
Any tips for choosing like the right restaurant? I always get so stressed out about this part.
Oh, me too.
Like too fancy, too casual. I don't know.
I hear you. Lowndes emphasizes ambiance.
Okay.
Choose a restaurant that, reflects the image you want to project and the kind of experience you want to create.
So like if I want to come across as like sophisticated and elegant, I might choose a fancy French bistro. But if I'm going for a more like laid back vibe, maybe, I don't know, a cozy Italian trattoria would be a better choice.
Exactly. Think about the atmosphere you want to create
Okay.
and choose a restaurant that aligns with that vision.
I can see how the ambiance of a restaurant could subtly influence like how we perceive the other person.
Mm.
If we're in a beautiful romantic setting, we're more likely to see our date in a positive light.
It makes sense, and there's research to back that up.
Really?
Studies have shown that people are perceived as more attractive
Okay.
when they're in a pleasant and aesthetically pleasing environment.
Interesting. So it's like we're subconsciously like transferring those positive feelings about the surroundings onto the person we're with.
Exactly. It's all about creating that halo effect.
Okay, so ambiance is key. Any other like restaurant related tips?
Let's see. Lowndes actually has different advice here for men and women.
Okay.
For women, she recommends having like this charming but cheap restaurant in your little black book.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
It shows like you're not a gold digger,
Yeah.
that you value like experiences over, extravagance.
Exactly.
It takes the pressure off the guy,
Hmm.
creates like a more relaxed and fun atmosphere.
Exactly. It's about striking that balance between like being thoughtful and down to earth.
Okay, so for the ladies, charm and affordability. What about the guys? What's the advice for them when it comes to choosing a restaurant?
Lowndes encourages men to like be a little more traditional here, especially on that first date.
Okay.
Spring for a nicer restaurant.
Okay, that might sound a little old-fashioned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Especially like in today's world of dating apps and, everything being so casual. Why does she recommend that?
Because it's not about like flaunting your wealth or impressing her with like how much you can spend. It's about creating a special and memorable experience.
Right.
And remember, research shows that people are perceived as more attractive in those like upscale environments.
So it's about like investing in the date and showing that you're willing to, put in the effort to create a romantic experience.
Exactly. It sets a tone of consideration and generosity, which can be attractive.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've picked the perfect like activity. We've picked the perfect restaurant. We've like created those initial sparks. But what about like what we wear?
Oh, good question.
Does fashion play a role in attraction?
Absolutely. And this is where things get a little unexpected.
Ooh, I love it when you say that.
Lowndes actually argues that what a man wears is more important than what a woman wears. At least, initially.
Really? I would have thought that like women's fashion would be more influential. Why does she say that?
She digs into evolutionary psychology to explain this one.
Okay.
She says women are like subconsciously assessing a man's clothing as a sign of, his ability to provide and protect. A well-dressed man signals status, resources, competence.
So it's not about like being a fashion plate or wearing designer labels. It's about like presenting yourself as someone who's, successful, capable, put together.
It's those subtle cues of stability and security that can make a man more attractive to women.
Okay, guys, take note, invest in some quality clothing, and like pay attention to the details. What about for the ladies? How much does it matter like what we wear?
Lowndes argues that women's fashion is a little less important, at least, initially.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because men tend to be more like visually oriented
Right.
and focus more on like a woman's physical attributes.
So all that time agonizing over the perfect outfit.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like more drawn to our, natural beauty.
It's not quite that simple.
Right.
But her point is that men are wired to appreciate a woman's natural beauty.
So instead of like stressing about every detail of our wardrobe,
yeah.
we should focus on like highlighting our best features and just like letting our natural confidence and charisma shine through.
That's a great way to put it. It's about feeling good in your own skin and letting your personality be the like main attraction.
Okay, I think we've covered so much ground here.
I know.
From those first impressions and nonverbal cues to conversation starters to like even fashion tips.
Yeah. It's been a whirlwind.
It has. But now I want to hear more about like cultivating those deeper levels of connection, right? Like how do we turn that initial spark into something, more meaningful? So let's move on to Lowndes' insights into the like delicate balance between similarity and complementarity.
The age-old question, do opposites attract, or are we drawn to those who are, most like us?
It's a classic dilemma. Birds of a feather flock together versus opposites attract. So how do we find that balance between finding someone who like gets us, but also like challenges us?
Well, Lowndes breaks down similarity into 3 levels.
Okay.
Shared interests, compatible values and beliefs, and long-term compatibility.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, wait.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more about these 3 levels.
Okay, so the first level, shared interests, this is the most superficial level. It's about those hobbies and activities, passions that you both enjoy.
Okay.
Things like going to concerts, watching movies, or trying new restaurants.
So it's about like having fun together
Yeah.
and enjoying each other's company. It's going.
Sharing these experiences that create a sense of connection and make life more enjoyable.
It's the foundation of a lot of friendships and relationships.
Okay, so we've got shared interests. What's next?
The second level is compatible values and beliefs.
Okay.
This is where things get a little deeper.
Yeah.
It's about those, core principles and perspectives that shape how you see the world. Your political leanings, religious beliefs, or views on, family and relationships.
So it's about being on the same page when it comes to the big stuff.
Yes.
The things that really matter to you and shape your life choices.
Exactly. It's about having like this shared understanding of what's important.
Right.
And being able to support each other's, dreams and aspirations.
Okay, shared interests, compatible values and beliefs. What's a third level?
Okay, this is the most complex and nuanced one. Long-term compatibility.
It's about your long-term goals, your vision for the future. Things like, do you both want children? Where do you want to live? How do you envision your careers?
So it's not just about being compatible in the present moment. It's about having that shared sense of direction, right? Being aligned on those big life decisions.
Exactly. It's about being compatible for the long run, being able to grow and evolve together without, growing apart.
This makes so much sense.
Yeah.
But Lowndes also talks about complementarity, right?
Yes.
So how do we balance that need for similarity with the excitement of, difference?
That is the key to a truly fulfilling relationship. We need a partner who is similar enough to make us feel understood and validated, but also different enough to challenge us and keep us engaged.
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Where we feel both connected and stimulated, safe, but also someone who gets us, but also pushes us to grow.
Exactly. It's about having those shared foundations, those core values and interests, while also allowing for growth and exploration.
I love it. It's like we're trying to create this a puzzle where the pieces fit together perfectly, but also create this beautiful, intricate design.
I love that. And finding that balance takes time.
Right.
And effort. It's about being open to learning about each other, communicating your needs.
Right.
And being willing to compromise.
Okay, we're navigating the complexities of similarity and complementarity. We're starting to feel this real connection. What else is involved in creating those deeper bonds of love?
Lowndes dives into a very interesting concept called the equity principle.
Ooh, the equity principle. Tell me more. All right, we are back, and I am so ready for the final chapter of our deep dive into the science of love. We've been unpacking all of Leil Lowndes' strategies from her book, How to Make Anyone Fall in Love with You.
Yeah.
And I have to know, what other insights does she have for us?
Yeah. Well, one thing that she talks about is the potential role of pheromones in attraction.
Pheromones.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember learning about pheromones in biology class.
Yeah.
Those chemical signals that animals use to attract mates. But do they actually work on humans? Can I just douse myself in some pheromone perfume and become this irresistible love magnet?
Well, the science on human pheromones is still a little bit of a mystery.
Right.
Some studies, suggest they might have a subtle effect,
Okay.
but others haven't found conclusive evidence. Lowndes acknowledges this uncertainty, but she offers an interesting perspective.
Okay, I'm all ears.
She says, even if we're not sure about the science, it doesn't hurt to cover our bases.
Okay.
And she suggests letting your potential partner choose your perfume or cologne.
Ooh, that's a good idea. I like that. It shows that you value their opinion. And it creates like this little shared experience, right?
Yeah.
That involves their sense of smell, which we know is so powerful and tied to memory and emotion.
Exactly. It's a subtle way to like create that sensory connection.
Right, right. So we may not be able to control those invisible pheromone signals, but we can definitely be mindful of the sense that we're like sending out. Okay, so what other like intriguing things does Lowndes talk about?
Well, she talks about the importance of managing jealousy and insecurity in relationships,
Oh, yeah.
which I think we've all struggled with at some point.
Oh, absolutely. Jealousy is such a powerful emotion, right?
It is.
And it can really like wreak havoc.
Yeah, it's one of those primal emotions that can easily spiral out of control.
Okay, so what's the secret weapon for taming the green-eyed monster?
Okay, well, Lowndes gives different advice for men and women.
Okay.
For men, she suggests a technique called no licky dishy, which is all about, being mindful of your gaze when you're with your partner.
So even if like someone ridiculously attractive walks by, I'm supposed to like pretend I don't see them?
It's not about denying your, natural instincts
Okay.
or pretending you don't notice attractive people. Right.
It's about showing your partner that they're the only one who really captures your attention.
Okay, so even if I'm, mentally giving that supermodel a 10 out of 10,
Right.
I need to, keep my eyes on the prize, my amazing partner.
Yes, exactly. And Lowndes points out that this is actually a huge opportunity to like score points with your partner
Yep.
because it shows her that you're devoted and that she's, the only one you have eyes for.
It's like a little test of, loyalty and commitment,
Mm.
and one that's definitely worth passing. Okay, so no looky-dishy for the guys. What about for the ladies? Any advice for, managing our own, jealous tendencies? Because let's be honest, we get a little green-eyed sometimes, too.
Okay, well, for women, Lowndes suggests a surprisingly counterintuitive technique.
Oh, I'm a little scared.
It's called looky-ditchy.
Looky-dishy. So I'm supposed to actually, encourage my partner to check out other women.
You're not encouraging it.
But you're giving him permission to look. And there's some psychology behind this. Because men often feel, guilty or ashamed about their tendency to, notice attractive people.
Right.
So by giving them permission to look, you're taking away that guilt and making them feel more comfortable and secure in the relationship.
It's like we're saying, hey, I know you're going to look anyway, so go ahead and get it out of your system. I'm confident enough in our connection to not let a few wandering eyes threaten our bond.
Exactly. And Lowndes even suggests making it playful.
Yeah.
You can point out an attractive person and be like, wow, she's stunning, don't you think?
Right. Right.
It takes the power away from those fleeting glances
Mm-hmm.
and turns it into a playful connection.
I love that. It's like we're taking control of the situation and diffusing any potential jealousy before it even arises. I love how she flips the script on traditional relationship advice.
She's all about understanding the psychology of attraction and using it to your advantage.
Okay, so we've explored the power of first impressions, the importance of similarity, the equity principle, navigating all those gender differences, fulfilling each other's fantasies. I feel like I'm forgetting something.
Oh, there's so much.
But as we wrap up, I'm curious, what's Lowndes' final takeaway? What's the message she wants to leave us with?
Well, at the end of it all, she reminds us that even with all this amazing research and advice, science isn't a magic formula.
Right.
Love is ultimately, an art, not just a science.
So it's about using these techniques as a guide, but also trusting our instincts.
Yes.
Letting our hearts lead the way.
Beautifully said. It's about embracing the complexity of love.
Right.
Understanding that it's a journey, not a destination.
So we should study the science, master the techniques, but ultimately allow ourselves to be swept away by the magic of connection.
Exactly.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too.
We've explored the science of attraction, from those initial sparks to those deeper longings for, connection and intimacy.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Totally. But as Lowndes reminds us, love is this complex and ever-evolving journey. There's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to experience. So as you continue on your own quest for love, remember to trust your instincts, follow your heart, and never stop learning. And if you come across any, particularly fascinating research, especially on I don't know, the anglerfish?
The anglerfish?
I don't know. just came to me.
I love it.
Be sure to send it our way because we are always up for a good deep dive. Until next time, happy hunting.